Hello, everyone. This is Kellen Lynch at Housing Solutions Network. Today, we're speaking with Fred Kimball, and we're going to talk about how to permit an accessory dwelling unit in Jefferson County. So this work at Housing Solutions Network on the Permit Navigator project emerged out of one of our housing action teams that is really looking at the obstacles to permitting in the city or the county. And specifically for the Permit Navigator, we're looking not just at full single family homes, but at accessory dwelling units or ADUs, because we see these as first of all, easier to build and easier to rent. We really want to focus on building our workforce housing stock, and ADUs can be a great tool for that. But we realize there's a lot of confusion around how to do it, and that's what we're here today trying to address. Some of our funding and support comes from our local Rotary Club. So thank you very much to the Rotary Club for believing in expanding workforce housing in Jefferson County. It really means a lot to us to have that support. Today, we're going to cover ADUs in Jefferson County. In a previous video, we walk you through where to find the ADU permits on the city and the county's website. But we've already downloaded 4 separate documents that we're going to walk through for ADUs in Jefferson County. And those are this brochure that you see on the screen here. It's kind of the overview. We have a permit application that you would use for either an ADU or a full building, a full single family house. Then we have a supplemental application that gets more into the details, and then finally a checklist. So I'm just going to introduce the brochure here and then hand it over to Fred Kimball. This brochure just covers the basics of what you're going to want to look at and consider ahead of doing any sort of site plan or design work. It runs through how they define it, what they're looking for, and their own steps for obtaining that ADU permit. These are all important points to really have focused in on by the time you're starting to design. And we're going to walk into that and walk through it with Fred here. Fred, why don't you introduce yourself, and we'll start walking people through this ADU permitting process in the county. And there you are.
Yeah, I'm Fred Kimball. I'm a recently retired building contractor of about 35 years here in Port Townsend in Jefferson County, and I've enjoyed trying to help Housing Solutions Network try to get more workforce housing in our communities. And so we'll start off with here. This is in the county. They have a separate permit application that really the basic function of the permit application. This permit application, this sheet anyway, is to get all the pertinent information: tax assessors numbers, addresses, names, the names of any professional people, your building contractor, your septic contractor, and then it also asks for all of the information about your sewage system or your wastewater system. Since most of the county is on septic systems, they're taking that real seriously, and so you need to be current on your inspections and all of that sort of stuff. And so that's what they're after with this first page application, is really developing the information on what you want to do and accomplish. So on the second page, third page, I guess, on the building permit application itself, if we can get that one up, Kellen. So this is the application for building either a residence or an ADU, and it gets more into the information about the nature of the construction project itself. You can see here it does have a brief line for the name and the tax parcel number so they can track this page, but it gets into the number of floors, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, the type of heat. Uh, then at this point in time, you really need to have your plan established so that you can get the square footages that they're after for any basements, any first or second floors, garages, carports, decks, all that sort of information. They're gathering the square footages so that they can value the building for the cost of the permit.
So Fred, how would folks have this information before filling this out?
Most of it, typically on a set of building plans, this will be on the main page somewhere.
Mhm.
That you can just take those square footages off the main page, because it's standard procedure. If you go through the county has information sheets available on their website that tells you the information that they want on the plans themselves. So the square footages you're going to steal off the plan and basically put it on the form for them and do the math for
And
them.
this is this something that just anyone can do, or is this something that a builder or an architect would do for a client?
Well, if you have an architect, they will certainly have this information at hand if they've drawn up the plans. Many builders are capable of drawing up plans, and many homeowners can do the plans if they're paying attention to what the county is asking for on their checklists for the different plan sets. It's not the further away you get from doing it day to day, the longer the learning curve, steeper the learning curve is. It's not difficult, but it is fairly time consuming. For a simple structure like an ADU is probably way more accomplished by a non-professional than a complicated single-family residence would be. That would require engineering, etc. So for an ADU, it might be, if it's a simple building, you may be able to draw this up and generate the information yourself.
Great.
So we go to this next page. So the difference, one of the differences you see when you do the city permit versus the county permit is, since many of the properties in the county may have barns or sheds or other buildings on the property, they want a list of that. And then basically at that point, you've got the permit application filled out. The real trick is in having the well-defined set of building plans that have all the information at this point for the plans reviewer to review for code compliance, so that they can have the building ready for a building permit. But in the county, if you go to the checklist, you can see there's items on there that might not be quite so straightforward as drawing a set of plans. And right off the top of the checklist, you can see the critical areas review, and that's critical areas are defined, wetlands, distances from shorelines, etc. So it's something that you can probably get general information off of some maps of the county, but you'll want to speak to a planner, and in the county you'll need to set up an appointment to talk to that planner about any critical areas. The other item in the county, and again that we've mentioned before, is that the septic system, if it's totally brand new, that you've been into the health department and have the septic permit application submitted, and that all of that has been approved and ready to go before you can really get started on your building permit. And it's the same with the water. If you're on there is PUD water available in some areas of the county, but many areas you'll have a well, and you'll have to have water tests. And on your site plan, you'll need to make sure that I believe it's 100 feet, 100-foot radius from a well to any kind of septic system, drain field, and reserve area. They don't want any cross-contamination with septic and water, and you don't want it either. So, and as you go down the checklist here, the fees, the water, again, this is, the well logs and the analysis, and I'm going to speculate, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that if there's some kind of date attached to if your well was tested 5 years ago, they may want to, and I picked 5 years as just a number, but I'm sure that there's a period of time between when the well was drilled and when you're actually going to use it. If it's too long, they'll want it retested for water quality. Septic permit number, you'll be into the health department for that information. The O&M form, that's the operation and maintenance of the septic system itself. Many of the systems in the county are pressurized or mound systems and have a annual operations and maintenance inspection that if you take a training class through the county, I believe you can do your own inspections and sign yourself off if you've been through the course. If not, you have to call a service out to do the inspection, and it needs to be signed off before they'll pass on a building permit. Site plans, here again, they have information on their website about the site plan. Some of the key elements are going to be your well location, distances from the well locations to your septic systems, to your building, the planned site for your building, where your residents lay, and all the buildings that are laid out on that piece of property, and also what the setbacks are in your particular location. Floor plan, again, see the checklist that they have on what information needed on a floor plan. It'll cover things like smoke detector locations, critical dimensions, any kind of braced wall panels, structural engineering information. Foundation plan will have size and location of anchor bolts. In the building plans, they'll also have, they need sections, typical wall sections, window and door lists. So all the things that make a plan set that you can actually go out and build something with is the key element. To think of it is not, if you're drawing it up yourself, you may be able to go out and build it with very little information, but the building department doesn't assume that the person that's drawing the plans and the person that's building it are one and the same. So if you think that, just assume that you're going to be handing these plans off to somebody else to build, and they need all that sort of information to get your building put up. Stormwater, they direct you to a rather, I hate to use the word complex, but a rather lengthy stormwater application that you need to fill out, especially if you're near critical areas and or shorelines. They're going to be paying extra close attention to how this is figured out. The energy line, here again, they direct you to a different form and application, and that basically is, you're listing the U values for your windows and doors. You're putting down your R values for your walls, floors, and ceiling, and your amount of glazing, uh, type of heat source, and this is all driven by an energy code that is statewide. It has nothing to do with the International Building Code. That the main floor plan, the building drawings are based on the international code, whereas the energy code is a state code. Also different in the county is the road access. If you're coming off a state highway, you need to be talking with the state folks and getting a permit to put a driveway onto a state highway. If you're coming off a county road and there hasn't been an existing roadway put in, you'll need to get a permit from the county road department to do that. They'll have requirements for culverts and widths and that sort of information is what they're going to be looking for on that. If it's a private road, then there's no permit required. You're just going to be it's what's practical, basically, is what's going to be required there. Address application. This is going to be it's all sort of in a package. If there's an existing address and the red fire sign, if not, you'll be applying for new numbers there. And just a checklist there, a check mark here for manufactured homes. They don't need to require the plan for the mobile home or manufactured home, but at the time when they come out to do their inspections, the plan set for that manufactured home will have to be on site for the inspector to look at. It'll be stamped by an engineer, and the manufactured mobile homes are approved by the Department of Labor and Industries, a state organization.
Fred, on that note, it's just the building plans they don't need, but everything else that we've talked about, they would need.
Correct.
Including,
Correct.
Stormwater, septic.
Right. Site plan. They would need a site plan,
And
and the septic permit, and the well information, the road access, the critical areas stuff. The energy calcs probably are going to be with the manufactured information, and what's above energy, and the stormwater calculation they would also need.
But
you should be able to, if you're doing a manufactured or mobile home. What was that, Colin?
I was just going to say that it can shorten the process potentially to go that way. Or what is your experience in going manufactured versus stick built in the county?
My experience in the county is that it's really all the other parts and pieces that take the time to wend your way through the process. The health department with the septic and the water system seems to be more of a time sink than the actual signing off of the building itself.
Right.
And also, I've never had to deal with the state for getting a permit off a state highway. I can imagine that is kind of a black hole that you can fall into because it would require input from their engineers, I'm sure. So, all in all, the information's on the plan sets. If you have complete plan sets with the information that you need for the building, that's really not the complicated part. None of it's really complicated, but it's not. It's a time-consuming thing for somebody to put together, but it's not. It's not as it doesn't drag you through the different departments, and that's really the main difference between being in the city and the county. Is in the city, they don't have the health department for you to get permitting from. They don't have to worry about water tests because you're on the public water system, etc. So.
Right. So in this final page of looking at the checklist, they have the table at the top here, and they have all the variables for projects you could be seeking a permit on. This looks fairly self-explanatory. Is there anything that folks should know on this last page?
Yeah, the back side, you're just. Yeah, it lists the different permits that you're after on the backside. So if you get down into the land use area, that's a whole different deal than if we're building an ADU, you're probably not going to be down into the land use and zoning questions because there is no, I believe in the county, you're kind of blanket allowed to do a ADU as long as you fall in within the setbacks and the health department conditions. So I think we've pretty well covered it.
Yeah.
I believe in the county, they want you to schedule, they want you to have your material kind of ready, and it's just not a matter of dropping off the plans and application on their front desk with a check. They actually want to schedule a meeting so that at least they get an initial look through of your material. One of the big delays in permitting is incomplete information. So that the missing critical pieces of information, if it's not caught at the front desk when it goes in, then somewhere downstream, somebody's got to ask the question, and the plans examiner calling you or your designer and having to leave a message, and then they go call back and have to leave a message. It adds time. And if we can get everybody putting in completed packages, it's good for the county. They don't have to do a lot of messing around trying to chase you down to get information. And it's good for us, the customers that are applying for the permits, because everything goes smoothly and everybody's happy at the end about the permitting process.
Well, this is a great walkthrough for the county's ADU permitting, and we will be producing more of these videos as we find more topics and folks to speak on them. And we really want to thank the Rotary Club again for supporting this effort of the Permit Navigator for Housing Solutions Network. And thank you again to Fred for taking the time to lend your expertise towards this project.
Well, thank you for having me.